Yo. Welcome back to the Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, JB. As always, joining me is Devontae Forever. What is going on this special Wildcard Weekend edition of Gridiron podcast?
What's going on, Jay? Let's talk some football.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of stuff happened this season. I feel like a lot of stuff happened this week. But here we are, man. We at the playoffs. And, of course, as always, appreciate the love and support. Last week, we actually had our highest viewed show on both YouTube and Facebook. So obviously the numbers are growing. Appreciate everybody. Continue to share the show and give support. As always, post your comments, whether on the games or thoughts or anything about the NFL season. And of course, we'll put that on the screen and we'll read it and give you a shout out. But man, here we are. NFL regular season is done, which is crazy to even think about, right? Like the NFL season is done. So usually we do what's your thoughts on this past week, and you can of course give your thoughts on that as well. But I want to go with what's your thoughts on the NFL regular season? Good, bad, played out the way you did, not quite.
I would say weird. This is a weird year. Like a lot of teams where it's like if you would have went in the league, you're like, all right, they're gonna be trash. We're really good. Like the Lions turned out to be very better than everybody expected. The Cardinals turned out to be very trash. So I was like, I would definitely say this is just one of the stranger years of NFL I've watched. But funny because I kind of expected that because I thought the year before was like a phenomenal year in the NFL. You had some dog out games in that 2021 season, fresh out of COVID, which I kind of expected that too. But this is like definitely like one of the stranger years in the NFL. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. That means that it doesn't have anything negative on it. But definitely a lot of stuff has happened in this one season. So that's why I would say strange and peculiar is the best word to describe it.
Yo, absolutely. This is one of the ones like this particular season, man. I thought it was in a good way, though. I thought it was good. I thought the parody that we usually rag on other sports like basketball for, I think was apparent. A lot of teams, there's playoff teams that I don't think anybody thought was making the playoffs. And there's still those teams that are dominant that, I think everyone had the Bills and Chiefs going to the playoffs, right? So like you still have those teams who should win it, but then you got a bunch of teams who are live. I think this is one of the most wide open playoffs. I know a lot of people saying it really comes down to the three-headed monster in the AFC, Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs. But hey, man, I think the Jags are live. I think the Chargers are live. But then you had some disappointments this season. You had I could start right with the Raiders. You know what I mean? That people saw that as a playoff team, and they, for all intents and purposes, shit the bed, right? You had teams like Dallas, who is always on the fence. Are they going to be good? Or are they not going to be good? Right? And they had a good year. The Vikings, I don't think anybody called them being as good. Philly, like they literally, even with the downhill slide, they ended up with 3 losses. It's just, man, the Niners and their ups and downs. I thought it was a very good season, very entertaining. As always, if you guys see the thing right up top right here, pray for DeMar Hamlin. Has been reported that he is out of the hospital and he's back in Buffalo, going through his secondary treatment. So of course the prayers will stay for him. Hopefully he gets back and can get as close as 100%, if not 100% as possible. So yeah, man. So with that said, do you want to give any thoughts on your team? The Steelers, obviously, they won their final game. Of course, it came down to the Jets taking the loss against Miami, which got Miami to the playoffs. But of course, that put Pittsburgh on the outside. But yet, Mike Tomlin still has not had a losing season.
Mike Tomlin is simply God's tier of coaching. Well, we're not gonna act like he's not. That's why it was very disrespectful last year when people were asking him about college jobs. But we know why. That was straight BS because we're not gonna act like Mike Tomlin is not a God tier coach in this league. We could talk about when you discuss the Bill Belichick's, when you talk about the Andy Reid's, when you talk about success in this league, you put Mike Tomlin in that same conversation because no matter what people say, no matter what crazy old Steelers fans say, because I deal with them, if Mike Tomlin got fired tomorrow, he would have a job by 12 o'clock.
Absolutely.
People would be blowing his phone up because he changes the culture and that's what he does. We have never had a problem with a free agent when they come to Pittsburgh. Why? Because Mike Tomlin is here. Players there's players and players on players who be like, yo, this dude is real deal. So stop, just cut the narrative out. I'm kind of sad that, first off, I was shocked we put up 28 points. I couldn't believe we put up 28 points. But I was kind of sad because that means we're probably gonna keep our offensive coordinator because we won 6-1 since Thanksgiving. So that probably means we're gonna keep our stupid offensive coordinator, even though I'm not the biggest fan of what he does schematically.
Right.
But we changed for the second half of the season alone. That pretty much got him another year. That bothers the life out of me to say it, but because I know I can separate my feelings as a fan from what the team actually will do because I know my team very well.
Right.
So, but other than that, we did a good job. And shout out to the Chicago Bears for getting the number 1 pick. So we get that number 1 pick in the second round. So, like, honestly, missing the playoffs is actually like one of the better things for us this year. I'm not gonna lie, because now we actually got we got pick 17. It was 3 picks before we picked last year and the year before that. But also now we have that room to actually grow because it's a young team. It's not like if we had Ben Roethlisberger, I'd be upset. But like the fact that we have like a young team, Kenny Pickett showed poise and growth. Definitely a good year for growth on the way they finish out. Oh, George Pickens will be a number 1 receiver in the league. Give it 5 years.
Nah, Pickens is dope, man. Pickens is dope. All right, so on the Raiders side, one word, blow it up. And I'm putting that all in one word, blow it up. So let's get to these comments real quick, and then we'll get into what we're first talking about. All right, so kicking this off, we got Jessica, of course, with the praise hands as always. Appreciate it. Week 18. Hey, look, technically, I think now this is week 19 as we're getting ready for the wild card. Week 18 concluded, which means the regular season is over. Reggie Brown, I knew the Vikings would be good. Look, on the roster is good. I'm heavily disappointed in their defense. Their defense has talent all across I can make the case the defense has more talent than the offense. You know what I mean? But yet it was the offense that practically carried them the entire season. I don't know what happened to their defense. Maybe they just wait until get hot in the playoffs. Who knows? And Jaguars. Look, the Jaguars was a team I thought would be good. They got off to the downhill slide. I'm not going to lie. I abandoned them. I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe Doug Peterson is not the coach I thought he was. Turns out he was the coach I thought he was. He just had to get back into the swing of things. He's a hell of a coach. I think Lawrence is happy to have him, and I think they're going to be good for a hot second. Miller was good, bro. He said, "Fly Eagles, fly." I knew the Eagles fans was coming. Enjoy your week off. You got to buy as well as the Kansas City fans. He said, "Rams and Broncos both let me down big time. Had to make a deep playoff." Yeah, the defending champs are nowhere to be found.
I didn't.
Like have nowhere to be found in this playoff scenario.
I didn't live in the Broncos.
Injuries, of course. The Broncos I knew would have struggled this year. I still think next year the Broncos will be okay. Yeah. He said Tomlin is a good coach, so it's a good coach. He underachieved though. I kind of feel that, not in the sense of like the Steelers were they're Super Bowl bound, but from the sense of that ever since I was a kid, every year I felt like the Steelers was live. It was like, okay, New England, Denver with Peyton or whatever, but you got to watch some Steelers. And I feel like lately it's like, no, you don't have to watch some Steelers. But
I strongly disagree with that statement. Because like I said, we went 7 and we went 6-1 in the last since Thanksgiving. But what did I tell you from day one? Do not from anybody. Do not judge this team without TJ Watt. And know what this reminds me of? When we went 8-8 in like I believe 2019, when Ben Roethlisberger tore his basically had Tommy John surgery. It was the same thing. Ben Roethlisberger is not on the field. What do you expect to happen? What did you expect?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's just only difference is everybody's a quarterback cheerleader. It's the same thing when you have a generational talent, no matter what position he's playing. If he's not playing, your team looks different. You can't tell me. Aaron Donald pretty much sat out the rest of the year. Look at the Rams defense.
Yeah. So Nick Bazzara was good, bro. Appreciate you checking out the show. He said he has never had a losing season regarding Mike Tomlin, which is remarkable. You know what I mean? It's actually incredible. That has to be some type of record, like amongst for a certain amount of years. That has to be a record.
He's third all time.
Marquise Everett, the little bro, what's going on, bro? He said Cowboys suck. He said Dak sold. And then Reggie responded saying he prime Ben, Brown, Bell, top 10 defense should have had 2 rings from that era. No showed in playoffs against Jaguars and Browns, unforgivable. And this comes from a Steelers fan. So I know Steelers fans are they go back and forth, right? Steelers, Raiders, Dallas fans, they all like battle each other. You know what I mean? Some are more realistic than others. But look, man, I do agree about the Killer B era. I do like. There's no that Jaguars game. I remember we watched that live, Devontae, together. There's no excuse for that particular game. That game, that Pittsburgh team, that offense, defense, you add it all up together. That was one of the most talented teams I think ever. And for the Jaguars, who had an elite defense, I get that point. But Blake Bortles putting up, I think technically he put up 35. Okay. I think technically he put up 35 himself. I know they had a pick 6, but
the defense is trash in the Bell Brown era. And I don't want to hear nobody say disagree.
He said, Marquise Everett, 49ers all the way. The 49ers alive. Oh, my God. That run game, the defense, Purdy's playing well. His only job is don't mess it up. But that's going to be tough. Reggie, again, with the Steelers, he said 2011 Patriots went 11-5 without Tom Brady. Sheesh.
We got the Super Bowl here.
Jamie, you're not late. We started at 8 tonight. So you're not late. Welcome. Appreciate you checking out the show. And then Nick Mazzaro said, so Steelers underachieved, not Coach Tomlin. Imagine losing your QB and still pull off a playoff winning season. One more, and I believe he sets the record. Okay. All right. So next year, that would be the record. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Tomlin, I think there's about maybe 27 teams who would fire their coach if Mike Tomlin became available. So yeah, Mike Tomlin's that dude. Shout out to Coach Tomlin. He always has the Steelers, especially late in the season where the Raiders usually fall off. That's when the Steelers get going. You know what I mean? He said, and I'm a shitty Jets fan. Look, man, I kind of like Coach Saleh as well. So, I mean, I'm not saying he's Mike Tomlin, but I do like Coach Saleh as well. All right. Okay.
I got a question for you at the end of the show too, by the way. I got a really good question. Yeah, I got a question for you.
Got it. All right. So let's get right into the first thing we talking about. All right. So the first thing we talk about, of course, is we're going to recap a little bit of week 18. And of course, one of the big games was the 49ers. I said the 49ers. Wow. Actually, the 49ers defeated the Cardinals, and everyone was wondering who they were going to draw. That's why I mentioned the 49ers. A lot of people saying Seattle, Lions, Packers, and Seattle ended up beating the Rams in overtime, which basically knocked Detroit out of the playoffs. So all the Packers had to do was win, and then the Lions were informed that they were knocked out of the playoffs before they ever played. And what did they do? Did they mail it in? No, they literally went and knocked the Packers out of the playoffs. Jared Goff played pretty damn well. The running game was great. The defense, which is not really associated with Detroit this season, played well. And, Aaron Rodgers, down the stretch, he threw the pick. The offensive line was not blocking as well. And what might have been his last throw in Green Bay, or in the NFL, was a pick, which is eerily similar to what Brett Favre did. His very last throw in Green Bay was also an interception. So, with that said, was this good Lions or bad Packers that basically ended up in possibly his last game ever at Lambeau?
It's good Lions. Like, put some respect on the Lions. The Lions are, if you really look at the rest of this year, the Lions were one of the hottest teams in the second half of the season. There's no unstop like they blew. If they didn't blow that Carolina game, they're probably in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like they had a really great shocking year, and they fought hard and they played physical, and that was the Achilles heel for the Packers all year. And this Packers season comes down to the simple things that I argue with you every single year around the month of April, every single year. This is what happens when you don't draft talent in the offense. Has the Packers defense been trash? Yes. Oh, yeah. But all you do is go defense in the draft. There's no excuse. There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. All you literally do is go defense. Why is your defense so bad? So now, first off, when you jump and take Quay Walker that early for no absolute reason, when you could have got a receiver, when you could have got an offensive tackle, when
who was ejected from the game, for pushing a trainer in the most ridiculous move of the season. This is the second time he did it. Yeah,
you could have got a lot of things. If you could have got a lot of things. So, and you know why? Yes, was he the back-to-back MVP? Yes. Does Aaron Rodgers hold blame on this and blame in a lot of this? Absolutely. But there's only one thing we're also forgetting. Aaron Rodgers is 39 years old.
Okay.
How come everybody uses this Brady's old thing so much that we forget Aaron Rodgers is 39?
Because Brady's 6 years older.
But he's Old is old, bro. If we're being real here, besides Brady, besides Big Ben, and besides Aaron Rodgers, most quarterbacks be done by now.
Okay.
38, 37, 38, 39. That's when your cliff is starting to come. The only difference is Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady hit their cliff a little bit later. Only difference is Aaron Rodgers crashed because he was the MVP last year,
right?
And then went just straight down after he signed that new deal.
So I'm not making excuses because Rodgers, I usually don't give him don't shoot him bail, but he did have a broken thumb throughout the year, and I don't think he played terrible. I think part of his downfall and the reason why the Packers struggled is his inability to want to be around his teammates in the offseason, which at the beginning of the offseason I get, right? Coming off a bad loss and contract time, fine, whatever. But he's out in the wilderness doing whatever, taking whatever. He doesn't want to ingratiate himself with the receivers. And all of a sudden now they get off to a slow start. Hell, Detroit got off to a slow start as well. But then the Packers caught fire the last 4 games, and they ran into a tough. Anytime you got to face a divisional opponent, which they usually put on purpose at the end of the year, it's tough, right? Maybe if they play the Bears, and actually that's a divisional opponent. Maybe if they play the Panthers, they get in, right? But you're playing a tough team in the Lions, who a lot of people will see are up and coming. We're going to get to some comments that says that and of course we both believe next year the Lions are live. Right? Especially if they have a good draft. They have a good draft. They go from here to here, right? So I think that I think it's bad Packers. The fumble, the penalties, even though the Lions had more penalties, the penalties killed them. They just seem like lackadaisical. Like they didn't even care. Bro, you give up a curl route to ice the game. I think they know Rodgers' time might be up. I think so. I guess we're officially entering the Jordan Love era. Rodgers has always been a nonchalant type of guy. We saw he didn't want to give up his jersey at the end of the game. So I think this might be a swan song for him at Lambeau. But look, man, I'm sure for him it turned out he got paid a lot of money. He didn't win nearly the amount of Super Bowls they probably should have because they've been in position to. Devontae is now gone, of course, in Vegas. I think it's tough. So yeah, man, I think the Lions are live, but I think the Packers kind of blew that game with the fumble. And I feel like they didn't come to play, which essentially was a playoff game, right? It basically was a playoff game. And I think the fact that it seems like the Lions wanted it more, I think was a little alarming, especially for Coach LaFleur.
It's an organization thing. The Packers' problem is an organization problem more than it is just on Aaron Rodgers or Matt LaFleur. It's an organization problem.
Okay. So let's get to these comments. Said coming out flat in the playoffs is on the coach. Looks like we didn't practice or watch film. They're still on the Steelers thing. Levante Armwood was good, bro. He said Giants, baby. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Giants shortly. Do not worry about that. He said when Martin coming on. He said Zach Brady, what's going on, bro? He said both. He said Brady was good Lions and bad Packers, and a lot of times it does fall, both. But Reggie Brown said the Lions are legit. Look, man, I think we all agree, like the Lions next year, barring a good draft and injuries, they're alive to really make some noise.
They got decisions to make.
So Lions are setting up to be up and comers. Packers are going the opposite way. So he says it's one's going up, one's going down. I know some people also feel the same way about the Bears, and obviously the Vikings did win the division. So looks like the NFC North is like starting to tighten up, and the Vikings aren't exactly world beaters either. So next year, I think the Lions do go to the playoffs. Nick Pizarro said the Lions issues, they underperformed early in the season. Also, they seem to have big injuries early in the season. Absolutely. Look, Dan Campbell is an old school coach, man. Like, he looks like one too. Like, he's one of these gigantic dude. The way he talks is kind of like some people like, wait, what? Like, what do you say? Biting kneecaps. But they believe, man. It reminds me of Coach Dayball with the Giants. Like, they believe. He took a team in a sport that most guys, they getting paid millions, and he had them go play in a game that they knew was going to be their last game. They had no way to make the playoffs, and they play their ass off. You got to respect that. You got to love that about Detroit.
100%.
JR said, Lions are 2 players away from legit. I agree, and they are tough. Said Lions better start being good. Imagine picking top 5 the last 15 years. Whole team just about top 5 picks. That is true. That is very true.
And they got cap space this year.
That is Said any lost his biggest wide receiver. Yep, true. Obviously, Devontae being in Vegas. Said Brady's old enough to have watched Calvin Johnson play in college, kill it in the NFL, retire, and get inducted to the Hall of Fame while he's still playing quarterback at a high level, minus this season. Yeah, man, Brady's he's what we call a fossil, but he's still getting it done, and a lot of people are picking him to actually win this weekend. So we'll exactly see. Speaking of this weekend, the Cowboys, who played their starters, they played against the Commanders. Obviously, the number one seed, the division was still live at the time since Eagles and 49ers played at the same time. And despite playing their starters against a team that didn't make the playoffs, who I do think is pretty good in the Commanders talent-wise, it wasn't even close. The Cowboys got stomped. And I know it was only 26-6, but it was even worse than that. Look, the Cowboys, man, you've never been on the Cowboys train, and we get it. I think we all understand, even Cowboy fans, they can't lie. We understand why, right? What does Stephen A say? Accident waiting to happen, right? Dak Prescott threw probably the worst pick six of the year after almost throwing a pick six that was dropped. He completed 14 out of 37 attempts. I got to ask this. Going into the playoffs, they've been on a kind of a downhill slide. I know they won some games against teams they should have beat. What's wrong with the Cowboys?
I want to start off by saying, well, this is a very interesting one for our guardian Gridiron family. We watched this game together.
Yes, we did.
We watched this game together. And the first thing I said to him literally was, what can go wrong will go wrong. It is the Dallas Cowboys. And what I mean by that is the Cowboys have unrealistic expectations. Why do they have unrealistic expectations? Because they're in a big city, a big football team, big market. Okay. You know what that means? Okay. You put Dak Prescott on this high pedestal. Dak Prescott was never top 10. I'm sorry. He is not a top 10 quarterback. Is he trash by any means? No, he is not trash, but he's I. The problem is the Cowboys don't treat him like he's an I quarterback. They treat him like he's a God tier quarterback, and he is not a God tier quarterback. When Tony Pollard was going, they were treating Tony Pollard like he was Tony Dorsett. And in reality, is he Tony Dorsett? No. Okay. No. When the Cowboys beat the Eagles with Gardner Minshew playing quarterback, they was over here acting like they beat the Super Bowl champ with the Eagles. Right. They was over here acting like this is like Mike McCarthy was Dorsett, like Tom Landry. Are you serious?
Right.
No, the Cowboys are a team that will forever fail because of Jerry Jones's unrealistic expectations, because he doesn't realize that these dudes just ain't good. No. And because of his leadership and how he runs his team, they will never get over the hump. So what I can't wait to come on here for next Tuesday for the last time and explain when they lose on Monday night, what can go wrong will go wrong.
All right, so you're on your Stephen A train. Okay, look. Dallas' problem. I do agree. Dak Prescott is solid. He's good, right? He's not trash by any means, but he's not that guy in the sense of 37 attempts a game. That's what he's averaging. Mm-hmm. That's a little much. You know what I mean? And I agree. The stat that everybody screams, when they run the ball more, they usually win, right? And it's like, I don't know why they keep, and I can understand, okay, Pollard's running crazy, Zeke is running crazy, so we just gonna keep running play action, right? I get that, but they just dropping back. Like, you know what I mean? Like he Patrick Mahomes, and I don't understand why they continue to make those same mistakes. I don't know why Dak can no longer throw like the comeback routes. I know he did have a thumb injury that kind of sidelined him, but he's late on like all comeback routes. If you look at majority of his picks, besides the ones that are tipped and picked, like, you know what I mean? Like, we count them, but we kind of don't count them, right? But they're all on like these comeback routes, on these comeback slash hitch routes. He'd be throwing like the ball is super late. And then the playoffs, you know, things speed up. They don't slow down. They speed up. And I look, the one thing about the Bucs, they can play some defense. I'm not saying they're world beaters. They're not the 2000 Ravens, but they can play some defense. So I do think, and we're about to get into that game right now, but I am a little concerned about the way the Cowboys been playing. All of a sudden, Micah Parsons, right? Defensive player of the year, according to Dallas fans, now all of a sudden slowed down. He didn't really play the run unless he's chasing down anyway, but now he's not even getting the pressure because I think offensive lines are starting to scheme directly for him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So this is tough, man. I fully expect him to beat the Commanders, you know what I mean? And then Jalen Hurts was basically forced into coming back to play because they had to lock up the number 1 seed to get the bye, and which they did, but Dallas, if it kind of does feel like the downhill slide starts again, right? And they got a tough game against Tampa. I know Tampa's not the world beater they were. They're not the Super Bowl team they were. But here we go. So let's get to these comments, and we can actually get into the actual game of Tampa versus the Bucs and give our picks on that. And comment down below, of course, who you think is going to win that game, Tampa Bay or the Cowboys. So let's get to these comments real quick. So we got Mary. It was going on, Mary. She said Brady is trash since his witch wife dumped him. Damn.
Lord.
You say, all right, the Commanders had their 3rd string quarterback. They was winning and Washington ain't throw a pass. Look, yeah. That was talking about playing to the level of their competition. It's really, really, really bad. Really bad. He said Cowboys win it all. Uh-oh. Dak and Zeke and INT. Of course, the Philly fan is loving it. Loving it. Stephen A said it best. They will fold. Just give it time. yo, you gotta give some grace, man. Like they did win 12 games. I think they won 12 games. Eagles have 4 guys with 10 or more sacks. How are one of them not defensive player of the year? Probably because there's 4 of them with 10 or more sacks. Look, man, I think Bosa's going to win defensive player of the year, and I think he should. Nick Bosa's been on a mission this year. It is not just the sacks. I think he does lead the league in sacks. If not, he might have got caught actually. But if not, the way he plays the run,
tackles for loss too.
Huh?
Up there in tackles for loss too.
Yeah, so I think Nick Bosa will actually win the defensive player of the year. But all right, Jamie said no, don't say that. Hey, we just give our opinion, right?
I love you, Jamie.
Say Cowboys are trash, man. They getting spanked by Tampa and Tom. Okay. Go Giants. I don't care. We made it to the damn playoffs. Yes, we're going to talk about that shortly. But first, let's get into the actual game. All right, Devontae, this is a game that we kind of speculated was going to happen. We kind of called it going to happen, I think, 5 weeks ago. We knew Tampa was going to win the South just because they're going to back into the South because a lot of the other teams aren't that great. And now, here we go. A rematch of the first Sunday night game of the year, Dallas at Tampa Bay. When they met, Tampa Bay's defense showed out. They beat them 19-3. Tampa Bay even had their offensive struggles in that game like they did all year. So with that said, who wins? Tampa Bay or Dallas? And give me a score.
Tampa Bay, 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 Tampa Bay. Right off of the reasons I just said, but more importantly, all right, fine. If you want to talk football-wise, you see what happens when the Cowboys don't run the ball. You see exactly what happens when the Cowboys don't run the ball. You see they fold under pressure. I need to see the Cowboys be able to win in a close game. Do I think the Cowboys can win in a close game? No. Do I think only way the Cowboys win this game, in my opinion, is if it's high scoring? Do I think they can win a dogfight game? No, I do not in any shape, form, or fashion. Okay. I do think Micah Parsons is going to have a good first half, but not a good second half. Because why? Because when things are going ugly, Tom Brady still magically finds a way and figures it out. Why? Because this is called Tom Brady season. If there's one time ever where Tom Brady will play somehow good and laser sharp, it'll be now. So, do I think this game is going to be close? Yes, I do. Do I think it's going to be a blowout? No at all. Not at all. If anything, I got my final score being like 24-17 tops, 24-17.
Okay.
Because Tom Brady will find a way. Tom Brady does what he does. He'll find a way, and the defense will get a stop. And what now? Here's the thing: is the true meaning to all this is going to be how they get a stop. Because somehow the Cowboys are going to kick themselves in their own leg again. It'll probably be something stupid like a pass interference call or something, a blatant pass interference call that cost them the game. Then the Cowboys are going to talk about how they got cheated for the next 10 years.
Look, man, this game is tough to pick because both of these teams I think are good. I think both of these teams are heavily flawed, though, right? Dallas, I think their offense when they put it in Dak's hands solely is a problem. And Tampa, I don't know, their injuries, they just look old, right? Like Tampa's all offenses, and I don't even mean Tom, I mean the receivers. Godwin's injury, he looks a step slow. He can't run the deep route no more. Mike Evans, despite his stats being good, I still kind of worry about him at times with his hamstring. The run game is non-existent, and I can make a case that was almost as important to that Super Bowl run as anything with Fournette. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Dallas and their defense, who can stop the run, I have a feeling they're going to be so focused on stopping Tom, the Bucs will be able to run some, and once they're able to run in that play action, even without Gronk, they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying they're dangerous for the other teams in Philly and San Fran, but for Dallas specifically, they're dangerous. I do not like the way Dallas secondary tackles, and that's why. And that is the exact reason why I'm actually going Tampa over Dallas. I'm going 17-14. I don't think both these teams are going to score a lot. I think it's going to be 17-14, maybe a last-second field goal down in Tampa. I think Dallas has to go back to the drawing board, and starts with the coach. I think McCarthy will be gone in the offseason, which we'll talk about that next week when we talk about like who we think is going to stay and whatever and hirings and stuff. But I just have a feeling that Tampa will pull this one out 17-14. Let's go to the comments, see what they got before we get into the next game.
Let's go.
All right. Said Tampa beats Dallas by 3. Yeah, Tampa. LV says Tampa 20-7. Jamie says Tampa by 7. He said, and Dak will have at least 2 INTs. Oh my God.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. It's tough, but I can see
He don't have good eyes. He don't have good eyes as a quarterback.
Yeah. So all right, so let's get into the next game. This next game, I think it's interesting. Depending on who plays, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The Ravens, they play the Bengals for the second week in a row, and obviously for the third time this year, division rivals. This game's at Sunday night, 8:15 on NBC. Look, man, you know how I feel about the Bengals. I think they are a loaded team. I do like the defense a little bit better than you, although I do not like the secondary. I think the front seven is pretty damn good, right? Especially when healthy. Obviously, these teams split in the regular season. We do not know about the status of Lamar Jackson yet. Obviously, I would assume if Lamar Jackson does not play, nobody is picking Baltimore. So we are going to go off of if Lamar Jackson plays. Who do you think wins this game? Joe Burrow and the Bengals or Lamar Jackson and the Ravens?
I don't think it matters either way. I think the Bengals win this game, but I will say, do I think Lamar should play? No, I don't. No, I don't. Why rush yourself if your knee is still sore, which was the reason why he hasn't played at all, is because you're still suffering from soreness. Why lose out on the money you're about to make this all season? If not from the Ravens, then probably from Detroit, if we're being honest. I think the Bengals win this game. The Bengals just have better talent around them, because at the end of the day, as talented and as a wizard Lamar Jackson really is, he still ain't got nobody to throw to. Like, he still got nobody to throw to besides Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is your only target. There's still a problem in there. J.K. Dobbins actually has been playing very, 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 very well since he's came back. Yeah, but I just don't think the Ravens have enough. But I do think this game is going to be closer than a lot of people think if Lamar plays this game. If Lamar plays, I take the Bengals 30-24.
30-24. If that's with Lamar Jackson.
With Lamar.
Look, I think Lamar Jackson, I have a slight feeling he's not going to play. I think, I can make a case it's not even in his best interest to play. I think at this point, the Ravens are probably going to franchise him regardless. So it will kind of be poetic justice for him not to play, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But I think Lamar Jackson, I think the world of him. I think he's a great quarterback, electric with his legs. And I think his passing has improved year over year. But the Bengals, man, that run game, that's what I'm worried about. The Bengals run game versus the Ravens run defense. And if they can run, and we know the Bengals could throw to Barack. So if they can run, I think this is not even close. I think I got the Bengals at 28-14. I think the Bengals will win by 14 points.
I don't know if the Bengals can run the ball, not because of their like offensive lineman or Joe Mixon or none of that, because of Zach Taylor, where it's like you can beat the Ravens running the ball, but you have to run zone scheme running the ball. You're not running the ball. You're not gonna run the ball just straight up the middle, 1-to-1 combo block. Right. Because like bro, like they're ridiculous. Like when you try to do that, bro, you're not going nowhere because you got like Roquan Smith and them boys. Like their D line is nasty.
Right.
Like their D line is crazy. Like
No. I'm not saying in the sense of the Bengals hike, we running a dive. You ain't running on the Ravens like that. But I went back and I watched the first 2 games, and especially the one where Baltimore won because Lamar played, right? And what I noticed in that game was Ravens was just playing like the nickel because they wasn't really running the ball at all. It was just, okay, we know you got Jamar Chase, we know you got Higgins, we know you got Boyd, we know you got Hurst. And they just sat in the nickel, and Burrow threw a pick, and everything they threw, they were right ready for. And then towards the end of the game, when the Bengals started to run the ball, it forced the Ravens to get out of the nickel. And that's when they started struggling some. So I'm curious if Cincinnati will come out trying to run the ball to keep them out of the nickel. Because if there's any 2 teams who know how to play the nickel, is Pittsburgh and Baltimore. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So and they play it and they play it perfect, and they got dogs who could tackle. So
that 2 safety high.
I still say Baltimore. I still say Baltimore will lose, but I do have a slight feeling Lamar's not going to play. All right, in the comments, let's go. He said, Levante said Lamar better not play. He needs to go get that bag. If he does play, I hope he doesn't get hurt or re-injure that knee. Absolutely, we're not hoping for injury. I do think Baltimore will franchise tag him, and which will cause basically even more rifts. But I don't think he'll play. He said Ravens 31-28 if Lamar plays. Which look, if Lamar plays and they beat the Bengals, I will not be surprised because Lamar is that electric. But
pray for me. I still live with Dad.
But this is but this is gonna be a tough game, man. This is gonna be a tough game. The Bengals run game gonna be non-existent. We're gonna see. Baltimore fan in the house,
man.
Right in the perfect time. He said the Ravens may be able to stop the run with Roquan now. If I'm correct, Baltimore didn't have Roquan in the first game. Absolutely not. Roquan was not there. Absolutely. Look, this is the AFC North matchup. It's always close. I don't think Lamar is going to play though. Personally,
they didn't have JPP either.
Yeah, you're right, and they didn't have JPP either. Close game for sure. Yep, AFC North, and he said, and Kyle Hamilton is a big now. True. All right, so with that said, let's get to this next game. The next game we talking about, Levante is gonna be happy. Jamie's gonna be happy. The New York Giants are back in the playoffs. I know Devontae's upset right now. I can see it in his face. But the New York Giants are back in the playoffs. They take on the Vikings Sunday at 4:30. So this is not a primetime game, Devontae. The Vikings beat the Giants on Christmas Eve 27-24. I believe that game did go to overtime. If not, it was the last second field goal. I think it did go to overtime. But Devontae, who wins, Giants or Vikings?
Out of all the games, this is the hardest one to pick. This is the hardest game to pick. Honestly, I can flip a coin for so many reasons, and that's just should tell you how much I think the Vikings are so disappointing. Like they should be so good. The Vikings should be so good. Their defense is just so trash. Kirk Cousins cannot play at 8:00 or any type of prime time. Everybody's watching you game to save his life. And it bothers me. You look at the Giants, right? Saquon is doing his thing. Daniel Jones has been playing a lot better. They have absolutely no wide receivers. Like, they're literally being coached by probably the coach of the year right now, where it's like they're literally just being coached. They have wonderful coaching, and Brian Daboll, he's doing a wonderful job.
Absolutely.
But, like, you just look talent-wise, and I'm just like, I don't know how they're here. Like, when you watch them play, you're like, this should not be working. None of this should work. But they're making it work.
Yep.
And because of that, I think this Giants I actually like the defensive line the Giants have. And I like their secondary needs some work. They don't really got secondary like that, which is going to be tough with Justin Jefferson. But honestly, I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. And this kills me to say this because I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think somehow Kirk Cousins is going to choke and the Giants will pull this out.
You're picking I think that's the first time I ever picked you the Giants. I've seen you pick the Giants to win a game. You're picking the Giants to win?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'm praying
He's
inside that I'm
picking
wrong.
the Giants. Let's get a close up on him as he's picking the New York Giants to win the game. Oh my God! Look at that! Look at that!
Oh my
All
gosh.
right, all right, all right, all right. Look,
Like
look,
wearing a
look, man.
LeBron jersey right now. This is painful.
Look, man. The Giants, I think, had a good season. I think a lot of people didn't expect it. The Giants organization pretty much always been able to play defense, right?
Mhm.
Defensive run. They're a very old school franchise. Saquon Barkley is that dude. I love Barkley. Sometimes I worry about the workload they put on him. I worry about his health, but he's a beast.
Mhm.
Daniel Jones, that's what it comes down to, right? For me, and I don't like to reduce it to the quarterbacks, but this comes down to Daniel Jones versus Kirk Cousins. Giants can run the ball. The Vikings can run the ball with Cook. The Vikings got Kirk Cousins, and they have Jefferson, who's like the force multiplier. Giants play defense. The Vikings don't.
Mm-hmm.
So with that said, I gotta go with the Vikings because I feel like Justin Jefferson will make 3 to 4 spectacular plays that can help put it out of reach. And I think if the Vikings got one job, a lot of people's going to say, oh, that one job is to stop Saquon Barkley, right? Of course. To me, that one job is to stop Daniel Jones from running. Force him to sit in the pocket and throw. I went back and I watched the game they played. Daniel Jones, he did pretty good with his legs. He didn't have one of those like Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, 150 yards rushing. I'm not saying that. He actually made some throws from the pocket that game that kind of had me like, wow, okay. But I feel like now this is also Daniel Jones' first time in the playoffs, right? So like, I feel like now, and you know how it is in the playoffs. 1 step slow, 2 steps slow, gone. Pick 6, gone.
Yep.
Tip pass. You know what I mean? So I'm going the Vikings off experience. I know this is Jefferson's, I think, his first go round, or were they in the playoffs last year? I forgot.
They were in the playoffs last year.
So they were in the playoffs last year. So I do think the Vikings will win. I think I agree, low scoring. I think the Vikings will win 14-10. I think Barkley have a good game, but it's Daniel Jones, man. That's what kind of give me cause to pause is Daniel Jones. So that's a tough one. Let's get to these comments. I'm sorry to the Giants fans in the comments. All right. He said, boo. Philly fan in the house not trying to hear any love for the NFC East, who did send 3 teams to the playoffs, and it should have been 4, but the Commanders, they basically choked it at the very end.
Yeah, because Ron Rivera forgot what game it was important.
Right. Said, woo, Giants fan love it. It said, feeling like 2007. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
I changed my pick now because of this comment. I changed my pick now because of that comment. I changed my pick.
This is not the 2017. Said, about damn time. He said, Giants got the one team they could beat in the playoffs.
Exactly.
I do agree that this matchup is the live one. I think this is the one. I think this is the one that could be tough. She said, anyone have a receiver that we can borrow? She said, yay, love you, D. Finally, you picked the Giants.
I love you too.
Zach Brady said Giants by 10. So he's not believing in the Vikings at all. I'm curious if that's about Kirk Cousins, the defense, or what, or the coach. He said, Chicken Joe's on me. All right. He said, y'all hear that? Yeah, Chicken Joe's on him. All right, if they win.
All right.
Jose, what's good, bro? He said, hate the Giants, but I'm picking them to win as well. Jones greater than Cousins this weekend. Look, if Jones come out playing like he has been, then yes, the Giants will win. I'm curious if he can in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now let's get to a game that I'm low-key hyped for. I wanted to see the Packers in this spot. Well, we got the 49ers and the Seahawks playing for the 3rd time this year. 49ers swept the season series. One game was close. The other game, not so much. You know what I mean? Look, we know the 49ers, their defense is pretty damn good. Despite the Chiefs game, the Raiders game, right? We know they can ball out. We know McCaffrey, since getting there, has been a monster. The run game is dope. We know Shanahan can call plays. But Brock Purdy, his first playoff game, I think this is what, his 5th start? And then on the other side, it's like the comeback kid, right? Who almost has to win the comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll. This is supposed to be the worst team in the league, according to many when Russ left. Is there upset, Devontae? I don't know. I'm asking. Who do you
I
think
don't think
wins, the 49ers or the Seahawks?
it's not an upset. It's a division game. It's a divisional game, and one is a divisional game, and two both quarterbacks are like very fairly new to this playoff position. With that being said, I'm gonna go with this game. I'm just gonna go with what I think it comes down to: who has the better defense, and what defense I believe in will make a stop in the fourth quarter. That is well needed, and I think that defense will be the San Francisco 49ers. I think this game will be like a 17-10 game. I think Kenneth Walker is going to do good. I think Geno's going to show up and show. I think Geno's going to show up and play, but it's going to be tough because their defense is just that real. I just think their defense is really that strong and that real. So, but I think Purdy's going to do enough just to win, and I think that's what this playoffs comes down to. But I think the defense is going to make a very critical stop. Probably like a very critical, like 4-1, 4-2 stop. That's
Okay.
gonna squeeze out an edge to give the Niners this game.
This game, man. At first, I was like Niners, right? Easy.
Mhm.
But then I went back and watched the games, and I'm like, okay, I know the Niners when they had changed Jimmy G, they smoked them, right? The second time. Kenneth Walker, man. I watching this film, I don't understand him. It's because it's like he gets the ball and he don't look fast, right?
Yeah.
But then he get to the sideline, he's gone. Like, you know what I mean? I don't get it. Like the acceleration is crazy. Brock Purdy, that's what I'm worried about. Now he's been good. He's been better than good. He's probably been he's been like the shock of the year outside of Geno Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough because it's his first playoff game. This is only his fifth start, and now you got to go play a smart coach in Pete Carroll, who knows how to take away, you know what I mean, what you want. I know Debo will be back; he'll be playing, so that's easy. You can hand off the ball to him, McCaffrey, and Seattle's defense isn't necessarily stellar.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the Niners will be able to run the ball, though. I think McCaffrey and Debo will show out, and all Purdy has to do, if Purdy throws a few picks, then Seattle will pull off the upset. Yeah. But I don't think he will. I think Shanahan will play it smart, and I think Seattle's going to struggle with stopping the run. So therefore, I got the 49ers winning 21-10. I think the magical season for Geno ends here, unfortunately. Hell,
I do too.
If the Rams don't miss a field goal, I think Seattle don't even make it. The Lions would actually be in this spot now. So, look, man, I think the Niners will take care of business. I think they'll move on. Let's get to these comments. Let's see what you guys think about this Niners Seahawks game. All right, said Vikes saved their biggest choke job from the playoffs. Giants have good vibes. Okay, all right, I got you. Matthew Harris is good, bro. He said this is going to be a nail biter, I think. Yeah, look. I know the one game was a blowout, but if you watch the game back, like it was closer than the score implicated. And Geno had a tipped pass that went for a pick six.
Mm-hmm.
Said Niners get upset. QB chokes in the playoffs in his first playoff game with Purdy. That's the wild card right here. All pun intended. Like you don't know because you've never seen him with the Raider game.
That'll help the Eagles tremendously.
Raider game. Raiders came down and scored, and he tried to make this wild pass. It got picked off. Raiders went up by 10. Now we know Raiders don't keep leads, but that's the first time I saw him kind of buckle. You know what I mean? But look, the Niners are a well-coached team, so I'm very curious to see how this one plays off. This one is the one that I'm really interested in seeing. Jamie said the Seahawks. Okay, so upset. That has to be an upset. Jose said close game, but Seattle has zero chance if that makes any sense. No, I see what you're saying. They're going to play them close, but the Niners will pull that out. Look, man. I wanted to go upset alert. I wanted to go upset alert, but I just can't. Like my football mind, it's like, no. You know what I mean? The Niners will take care of business. Said D, it don't matter what you think. It doesn't matter. I see you. So I'm going all underdogs. Maybe that would give the Giants something. Okay. All right. I ain't mad at that. All right. This next game. This one is the one. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Los Angeles Chargers Saturday night, 8:15. Jaguars put an ass whooping on the Chargers. I knew the score of that game, but when I went back and watched it, they beat them up in every phase of the game. Offensive line was in that, and Rashawn Slater was still there. Jaguars beat up the offensive line, they beat up the defensive line, they beat up the linebackers. Like they literally they whooped their ass, man. But it's obviously the playoffs is a new time. First playoff game for Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, it's their first go round in the playoffs, so it's gonna be tough. This is a tough game, man. This is like the closest game I see. I can't pick either way. Who do you got? The Jaguars or the Chargers?
It is time to say goodbye to Brandon Staley. I think this is the upset alert. And if I'm picking a blowout this weekend, this is my blowout. Well, actually, it's my second blowout. There's another blowout down the line. The Jaguars are going to wipe the floor with the Chargers. Well, not because of Herbert. I think Herbert is a good player. I just think the coach is an absolute idiot. He goes for on 4th and 5, 4th and 8. What are you doing? This is not Madden. This is not Madden whatsoever. The Chargers, right? You got Khalil Mack, who's always injury prone. You got Joey Bosa, who's always injury prone. Their secondary really can't get it together all that time. So pretty much only, oh my God, you have Keenan Allen, right? Heads and tails. One moment he plays great. Next moment he plays like trash. Only real constants they really have is Austin Eckler. Other than Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, like, come on, man. Like, I don't trust the Chargers' weapons at all. If you look, I just think if you put these two teams on paper, you cannot tell me Jacksonville does not have a better roster. I think Jacksonville has the better roster. I think this game is going to be a game where I think Jacksonville wins by 14, but it just looks like it's going to be one of those games where it just looks like the Chargers will just keep fighting back. But every time the Chargers get like a field goal or a touchdown or something, the Jaguars will walk right back down the field and get the same thing. So it's going to look close, but it's not close. I think the Jaguars will dominate them in every aspect of the game. Every aspect of this game, Brandon Staley will be fired. I guarantee.
Look, I think Brandon Staley needs to be fired regardless, right? I don't think he's a good coach. I think he does have some eye for the game. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be in the league in any capacity. What I'm saying is I don't think he's not this team. This Chargers team on paper, they got talent across the board. Defense, offense, everything, right? Yep. I know it's the first game for Herbert. I think he'll be ready. As same with Trevor Lawrence. I think Peterson has been a godsend for Lawrence. I know they got off to a slow start, but I think look, that team, man, they play tough, man. Peterson's another one of those coaches. He gets them playing right. This one is tough, man, because this is close. Like I think this might be like a 3-point game because I think the Jags offense can play. I love what Zay Jones is doing for them. Kind of miss him as a Raider. I love the run game, of course, with your boy ETN. But the Chargers, I know the offensive line is banged up. I know if they advance, Rashawn Slater will be back next round if they do advance, and that's great news for them. So a lot of people picked the Chargers to go to Super Bowl, man. I didn't see that quite, but a lot of people picked the Chargers to go to Super Bowl. I'm not sure about this game. So if this is the only one I'm not even saying with conviction. I'm going Chargers 28-24, man.
Put the screen on yourself. You pick the Chargers, put the screen on yourself. You can put the screen on yourself at this point.
I'm going Chargers 28-24. I don't feel confident about it. I really don't. I like Peterson more. I like Lawrence not as much as Herbert. I like their team more. But I feel like, bro, the Chargers, their time has to be now to make some noise. They were supposed to go to playoffs last year. They started out like 6-2. They got knocked out in the last game of the regular season. I don't know what this like. If not now, then when?
Never. Like, not under Brandon Staley.
So
not under Brandon Staley.
I don't feel good about this game. Like I really like about that pick, of course, because it's a pick'em game to me, so I'm not quite sure. But let's get to the comments, man. Let's get to the comments. I think it's gonna be a hard fought game. All right, said. Oh, Gatai said it don't matter. So, all right. Jose said game of the weekend. I got the Jags. Look, I think this game. Look, I think this is like the closest matchup. Some say Bucks Cowboys, and I get that. Giants Vikings, I get that too. But this one is neck and neck, right? 4 and 5 seed playing. Said this is the best show to watch. Love you guys having an awesome time watching. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Love that. Appreciate that. Said Jags. Damn. Okay. Jamie says love Trevor Lawrence. Sunshine. Levante said Duval. A lot of people in the Jaguars. Okay. Dougie P got them balling. Absolutely. Look, I still don't like the way Dougie left Philly, but you know, I guess it worked out for them too with Sirianni. But still, I know you do. Super Bowl win and coach versus some doofus. Mail it. Okay. Great. Yep. Bad head coach. I do agree with that. Staley could be a defensive coordinator. It's just the going forward on 4th and 1 from your own 2-yard line. I don't understand what he's trying to go for with that. He said this game is just flip a coin. Yeah, like I think these teams are evenly matched. I can't wait to watch this game Saturday night. All right. Here we go. Probably the biggest emotional story in the league. We got the Miami Dolphins visiting the Bills for the 3rd time. They split. Obviously, we know the first time they met, Josh Allen couldn't execute spiking the ball, and that's how they lost the spike, outgaining the Dolphins by 200 yards. Second time, the Bills put them away. We know what's going on with the Bills, of course. DeMar is doing better, of course. There are speculations he might watch this game from the press box, which I think would be an awesome thing to see. But look, we don't know about the status of who's playing quarterback for the Dolphins. It might be Skyler, it might be Teddy, it might be Tua. Who knows, right? But I know if the quarterback play is competent, then this Miami team is not a pushover. I don't care what nobody says. They're not a pushover. I know they struggled in a 9-6 win over the Jets because I'm not counting the safety at the end. But when they have a quarterback playing, this team is live. Who do you got? Dolphins or the Bills in Buffalo?
I don't think it matters who's playing quarterback. There ain't no way in hell the Buffalo Bills will lose this game. If the Buffalo Bills lose this playoff game, this will set them back so far. If the Bills lose this game, this will set them back so far. We went through all of this. We talking neutral sites. We talking all this stuff. For you to get a home game to lose in the first round. No. Buffalo by 3 touchdowns. I got Buffalo by 3 touchdowns, no matter if Teddy plays, no matter if whoever plays. If Buffalo doesn't win this game convincingly, there is a problem. There is an absolute problem because like I know, there is one thing about playing football, right? And you're going into some crazy territory, but there's one thing about going into hostile territory, superiorly hostile territory, where there ain't no way you can win. For all my high school players, it's like playing your rival on homecoming. Ain't no way they walking out this game. Ain't no way. It's like that comeback game. Everything is on the table. Everything is on the table. You wear your special jersey for this one. You put on your special tape, your lucky cleats, your lucky whatevers. There is no way if Buffalo loses this game, they will never win a title.
You think it'd be worse than the Super Bowl losses?
Yes, absolutely. It'd be way worse. It'd be incredibly worse. They had to give a man CPR for 9 minutes straight. 9 minutes straight. The whole league is wearing this whole thing for 3. So you're telling me if he's in that building, the amount of love he's going to get in that building, that atmosphere, and we already know Bills fans are crazy enough. That atmosphere, and they lose that game, they'll be making a 30 for 30 documentary on it in 10 years, guaranteed, if they lose this game.
So you said the Dolphins have no shot.
By 3 touchdowns. The Dolphins have no shot.
By 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. In the words of dear old Vince McMahon, no chance in hell.
And that's with Tua, with Teddy?
with Tua, with Teddy, especially not with Teddy. Tua hasn't played in a little bit now. You're gonna always worry about every time he hits the ground. Where's his head at? Because think about it. If he suffers another concussion, he might damn near have to retire.
True.
That's
Very
4
true.
in the season.
Very
That is
true.
4 in the season.
Very true.
That's
Very
4
true.
in the season. Why are we even thinking about, like, for example, I love the Dolphins roster, but do I think Tua should play? No. Why? Because that's so dangerous. As somebody who suffered from concussions, that is wild dangerous.
Absolutely.
Not only you have to worry about your roster and your organization for the next years, is your franchise quarterback, bro, you also have to worry about, can he be able to count by the time he gets to 35? Can he live a normal life after this? And if he keeps going the way he's going with all these concussions, the answer is no. This is not Varsity Blues, where they had the thing of Reggie Ray and they just kept counting up all the concussions. This is not Varsity Blues. No. But the Bills cannot lose this game. No, and no.
So Tua's not cleared to practice. I just looked it up. He's not cleared to practice yet. So it looks like it will probably be Teddy Bridgewater who is cleared to go. And obviously Skylar Thompson is cleared to go, obviously, because he played last week.
Yep.
So I think if Teddy plays, it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be 3 touchdowns. I think that is hyperbole. I think Teddy can take care of the ball. Not saying Teddy's better than Tua or better than Josh Allen or even closer to Josh Allen. What I'm saying is this Dolphins team, I think, is pretty damn good. You know what I mean? I do agree with you on Tua with the concussion thing. I do think they need to monitor him. They need to do what's in the best interest of him, not rush him back for a playoff game, because the Dolphins have a good chance to be good for going forward. You know what I mean? If Tua is ready to go, then yes, play. You know what I mean? But as of right now, on Tuesday, he is not cleared to practice. I think Buffalo is obviously focused, being with what happened. I think they were kind of starting to go through the motions. I think this kind of fired them up. I will say, though, not that the Patriots are garbage. That game did have me a little concerned that Mac Jones was running up and down the field on that defense. And I know it's injury-based. Though Von Miller, there's holes in the secondary. There's holes in the defensive line, of course. So, but I am a little bit concerned with that defense now. What was a staunch defense now feels like a normal defense in the NFL, right? So I think if Teddy plays, I think the Bills win by 10. They'll score a touchdown to go up two scores, and that's a wrap, right? If Tua's ready to go, which means they get like their team back, right? Tua's a quarterback, Reek, Waddle, and everything like that. If Tua does play, then I'm gonna say here first.
Say goodbye to the Bills. Say goodbye to the Bills at that point. I wish Jeremy was in here. I wish Jeremy.
He was in the chat. He was in the chat.
Bro, you can ask him. I guarantee you, this will be worse than the 4 Super Bowl losses in the 90s. If they lose this game,
is healthy enough to play. Right. And I mean, actually healthy enough to play, not him just going out there like he did against the Bengals, right? If he's actually healthy enough to play, then I think this game is close. And I think the Dolphins, Reek Hill will make some crazy play with his speed and to get him in field goal range for a last-second field goal. And I think Miami can upset the Bills 24-21.
Miami beats them in the cold.
Reek played in Kansas City. He don't care about the cold.
What about Tua?
Man, he played games in the cold before. Like, come on,
hot ass Alabama. He played in hot ass Alabama.
Yeah, but he plays in the NFL. Like, they play games in the cold. Like, all right, man. So that's only if Tua plays. If Teddy plays, then I got Bills by 10. Let's get to the comments. Jamie said Bills. Said DeMar focused his team. They will blow Miami out of the stadium. Miami could play with 13 players, won't matter. Bills will blow them out.
I'm telling you.
They just scanned Tua's cat. Look, man, I'm only saying that if Tua plays and he's actually healthy, not no BS where they force him into the game. I'm not cool with that. But yeah, man, look, that's a tough game. So there we go. We got our picks. So I believe if to run these down, Me and Devontae, we both picked Dallas. I mean,
Yep.
we both picked Dallas to lose.
Oh God, no.
We both got Tampa. We both picked Cincinnati.
Yep.
I picked the Vikings. Devontae picked the Giants, and now that's a shocker, right? That's the upset alert. Devontae picked the Giants. We both picked 49ers to beat Seattle. This game was tough. I still don't feel good about this pick, but I picked the Los Angeles Chargers. Devontae picked the Jacksonville Jaguars. Devontae picked the Bills no matter what. I said if Tua plays, then the Miami will go into Buffalo, upset them, unless it's not in the snow. Look, man, I don't feel good about that. I really do not feel good about that game, Devontae. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on Wildcard Weekend. Of course, we will be back next week to discuss what happened, of course, and see like where we went wrong. The Vikings game, I don't feel good about. The Jaguars game, I don't feel good about. Those are the two games right there I do not feel good about at all. Like it's actually bothering me right now. Like, so I don't feel good about those games. We do have a comment that just came in from Jose. Appreciate it, bro. Jose said, Tampa, Cincy, Giants, Niners, Jags, Bills. Okay, so I think that's pretty much in line with you, actually. Yeah,
that's all my picks. Yep,
those are your exact picks. Okay, so we will see. I just feel like the Chargers, they got to, right? If not now, then when? Like they gotta make noise now. Like they're never when. Like
said the same thing about Phillip Rivers.
Their quarterback can ball. You know what I mean? Their quarterback can ball. But appreciate it. JR said, great show, guys. Can't wait to talk Eagles next week. Yes, next week, of course. Next week, of course, we will be talking about the Eagles as well as the Chiefs, who are the number one seeds. We will see what matchups they draw as they both get set to host their first playoff games. But we'll be back next week, of course. I'm JB, as always, Guarding Gridiron Podcast. Devontae, let them know where they can find you.
At Devontae Foreman or everything. Jay, thank you for having me one more time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Weekend.
We'll catch you guys next week. We out. Peace.
Peace.